It had been a long week filled with work, responsibilities, and the constant back and forth of our hectic lives. I thought I knew my wife, understood her moods, her habits, her laughter, and the subtle gestures that always reassured me. But that night, something felt wrong. She left the house with a careless smile, saying she was going to spend time with friends. But I had seen the texts, the guarded looks at her phone, the nervous energy she tried so hard to conceal. Even though my instincts warned me something was off, I pushed the feeling aside. I told myself it was paranoia, that I was overthinking, that everything was fine. I had no idea how badly I was misreading the reality of that night. Hours passed. I waited. I paced the living room, checked my phone obsessively, and tried to distract myself with music and work. Yet every sound in the hallway, every vibration from my phone made my heart pound. Then the realization struck like a thunderclap. She wasn't coming home that night. Every instinct, every small clue I had ignored now screamed at me. A cold dread settled in my chest. I imagined her laughing, holding someone else close, sharing moments that should have been ours. My hands trembled, my stomach twisted, and a storm of anger, disbelief, and heartbreak rose inside me. When she finally came home the next morning, she expected an easy reconciliation, a smile, a shrug, maybe even laughter to erase her absence. But I wasn't the man she thought I was. I stood in the doorway, calm but unmovable, my bag packed and ready for a decision I had weighed all night. There was no shouting, no pleading, no drama, only quiet resolve. I watched her walk toward me, expecting a guilty grin, a rushed apology, perhaps an attempt to charm her way back. Instead, her confidence faltered when she saw my face, a look she rarely saw, detached, serious, and heavy with finality. I closed the door on her slowly and deliberately, the click of the lock echoing like a drumbeat of closure. I told her calmly but firmly that we needed space, that her actions had crossed lines that couldn't be ignored. She tried to speak, to convince me it was just one night, to minimize what had happened. Her words fell flat. I didn't argue, I didn't yell. I turned away and began reclaiming my life, my peace, and my sense of control. For a moment, I believed closing that door, cutting the night out of our lives like a cauterized scar, was enough. Days passed in a blur of quiet reflection. I buried myself in work, friends, and routine, trying to ignore the betrayal and the empty space she left behind. The pain lingered, deep and persistent, but I thought I could manage it. I had drawn the line, closed the door, and set boundaries. A fragile sense of power returned. I believed I had taken control, stood firm, and that she would finally understand the weight of her actions. I told myself it was over, that the chapter had ended. I was wrong. Then the phone rang. A simple ring, nothing dramatic on the surface, yet I knew instantly it would change everything. My heart sank before I answered. The voice on the other end was calm, distant, almost clinical. Every word cut deeper than I imagined. I learned things I wasn't prepared to hear. Secrets, confessions, betrayals hidden in plain sight. The careful illusion of control I'd built began to collapse as the full truth emerged. Everything I thought I knew shattered in a single conversation. I sat frozen, gripping the phone as the words sank in. My mind spun, struggling to process shock, heartbreak, and anger all at once. The betrayal wasn't just a one-night mistake. It was a web of deception I never saw coming. The finality I felt when I shut the door was replaced by helplessness and disbelief, a pain so sharp it nearly paralyzed me. Even the walls of our apartment, once a refuge, seemed to close in, echoing with the weight of what I'd learned. I realized my life had changed irrevocably. The person I trusted, loved, and built a future with had been living a double life, and I had been blind to it until that call. The rules of our relationship, the foundation of trust, respect, and honesty, had all been lies. Now the consequences stood plainly before me. I couldn't unhear the confessions or erase the images forming in my mind. I couldn't undo the heartbreak carefully created behind my back. For hours, I sat in silence, letting the devastation wash over me. I thought about confrontation, revenge, closure, but words felt useless. This was more than a single betrayal. It was a fracture that weakened the foundation of everything we built. The door I shut earlier now felt symbolic, a boundary I could never reclaim, a line marking both an ending and a beginning I wasn't ready to face. I felt small, powerless, yet painfully aware of the strength I once used to stand firm. When the call ended, only silence remained, along with the crushing realization that life would never return to what it was. One night, one careless act, and the truths that followed had changed everything. I thought closing the door was the end, the limit of my patience, my pain, my involvement. But it wasn't the end at all. It was only the beginning. That call shattered me in ways I never expected, leaving me to navigate a world without trust, where love was replaced by doubt, and the person I believed I knew had become a stranger in my own marriage.